So Bootcamp will probably be back then. And if Qualcomm will be able to build this market out, that's actually like something that is beneficial for us as the consumer. It might not be beneficial for Apple. Excuse me. Excuse me. Do you know why we pulled you over today? Exactly. It's because you're not subscribed. So you better fix that right now, or we're gonna have to take you in. We're going to talk about something else. We're going to talk about Qualcomm. Obviously, we have our intern, which is called Alex, and Alex is going to read this out for us. But before we get into it, Qualcomm obviously is a competitor to Apple, mostly on the mobile market, but they also made some chips for Microsoft. I feel like the MQ or the Microsoft chip. Anyways, the Microsoft Silicon chip. It's not even a Microsoft. The Microsoft chip in the Surface X, and if I'm not mistaken, in the first Surface with the Windows RT or whatever was also Qualcomm. No, actually, it was Nvidia. Yeah, that was Nvidia Tegra, whatever. So, anyways, fuck it. It is a chip from Qualcomm that is in a desktop-like device. So yeah, they're trying to compete more and more, and now apparently they're going to enter the market of PC chips designed by former Apple engineers. So I feel like that's potentially interesting, and I would say Qualcomm is a joke. Next story, please. No, dude, Qualcomm is not a joke, okay? We can joke around about Qualcomm. I'm not saying Qualcomm is at all competing right now with Apple. But I would say we shouldn't underestimate them, because if you underestimate them, they might be able to fuck you up, right? They get in your back and they stab you, right? So don't underestimate them. But also just take some stuff that they say about themselves with a giant grain of salt. But I wouldn't say underestimate them, right? It's just they will be a serious competitor, but yeah. Will they ever overtake Apple? I wouldn't say so. Anyways, let's get into it. Alex, take the stage.
Qualcomm takes on Apple Silicon with next-gen PC chips designed by former Apple engineers. Qualcomm is ramping up its efforts to compete with Apple's new M-series chips for the Mac. The chipmaker today held its 2021 Investor Day event, focused on unveiling its next-generation technology, including new CPU hardware designed by Nuvia. For those keeping track, Nuvia is the chip startup founded by 3 former Apple A-series engineers that Qualcomm acquired earlier this year.
So, this is very interesting, because they actually acquired people that worked at Apple for Apple Silicon chips, right? So they designed Apple Silicon chips, or they chicks. What the hell? They designed Apple Silicon chips, or they were on the team when they were designing it. This is very interesting because it could tip the scale a little bit. Although obviously Apple has been working on this for quite a while and is now obviously already light years ahead of what probably was the trend back then. But yeah, I would still say it is something that could probably, be a problem for Apple. For us, probably competition is good. So if it is good, then that's good for us, because it will only wake up Apple and probably crush Qualcomm afterwards. But right now, x86 is not really a competitor anymore. In terms of power, maybe, but also in terms of wattage, right? That's not going to work. So on the mobile market, like MacBooks, maybe even Mac Minis, right? The things that are smaller, I feel like x86 is not competing anymore. Especially if you look at things that are portable, right? Like everything on battery is just complete and utter bullshit with x86. It just can't compete with the power of an Apple Silicon chip. Now, desktop is a little bit different. We're going to get into that, but I feel like this is good news in terms of competition, because it will probably keep Apple awake a little bit, right? Keep them awake. It's good. Good for them to stay awake. I would say they are awake. I would say like this is not something that they are I don't feel like this is something that they are too scared of, but they will keep this in mind. Yeah, for sure. Alex, keep it pumping.
Qualcomm's acquisition of Nuvia has been very messy for a number of reasons. Nuvia CEO Gerard Williams serves as Qualcomm's Senior Vice President of Engineering. Williams departed Apple in March of 2019, and shortly thereafter, he was sued by Apple. The lawsuit from Apple alleges that Williams exploited Apple technology and poached other Apple employees to join him at Nuvia. Williams then fired back with his own lawsuit, saying that Apple illegally monitored his text messages and that his so-called breach of contract is unenforceable. There has been no resolution in this lawsuit yet.
So this is a lawsuit that I feel like this is going to go on for a really long time, and it's not really interesting for us as a consumer. Apart from obviously, it might make it easier for Qualcomm to compete, right? If you can use company secrets from the competitor, then yes, it's easier to compete. But I would also say, like, if next year, right, because this is going to happen next year, these chips come out and they see technology that's in there that is definitely coming from Apple, the case is closed, and there will be a resolution quite soon, right? So I like, yeah, I hope they're good, and I hope they are competitive. But yeah, they have said this before, dude, and I don't really trust it too much. I just don't. And the reason for that is that companies like these, they mass produce chips for so many different devices. It's not optimized for the device that it is in. It's not like Apple, who has one client itself and it knows how to scale up every single chip to make it something that is designed for a certain device. Now, obviously, they can, like the M1, right? They can put it in the MacBook Air, they can put it in the iPad Pro, they can put it in a MacBook Pro, an entry-level MacBook Pro. So there is some scalability there. But you also have scalability in terms of having that same M1 turn into an M1 Pro, and that M1 Pro turn into an M1 Max. And it works so linearly, and the performance scales actually quite good, right? So I'm not sure if they will be able to mimic that. That's just and who's going to develop for it? Yeah, that's a good question. Who's going to develop for it? That's a good question, since, well, it is going to depend on what type of devices are going to use these chips. Is that going to be Microsoft? Is Microsoft going to get into this shit? If it isn't, what is going to happen? Is Android going to be a desktop computing environment? Is it going to be Chrome OS? I don't see too much focus from Microsoft on ARM just yet. Maybe they are waiting for these chips. It could be a big load of things. But yeah, like what you said is true. Who is currently going to develop a software that runs or is optimized for these chips? Because it's not an x86 chip, it's an ARM chip. And on the desktop, well, even Apple kinda is struggling right now to get the performance up to where it was. With apps that are not optimized for ARM, right? They have insanely good software for it, which is Rosetta 2, and it's blazing fast. It's not native. It's not like native performance, though. It's something that you can't expect it to be either. That's not what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is, even Apple, which is the master of these kinds of optimizations, and they showed it, right? Rosetta is light years ahead of any competition. If even they are struggling with this shit, then the only option you have is turning Android into a desktop computing platform, or maybe Fuchsia. I'm not sure if that's going to be a thing from Google anytime soon. Or Windows, Microsoft is going to have to come out with something like a Rosetta that's better than the translation layer that they have right now. Or Qualcomm is going to have to introduce like a million developers that are going to develop all these apps. It is very important that happens. And competing on the power of these chips is one thing. Competing on the optimization, the scalability, and also the apps, that's a whole other story. You can't steal that. You can't steal that. And if any lawyer is watching, I didn't say he did steal anything. I also didn't say he didn't. I am really neutral. Alex, take the stage, please.
There has been no resolution in this lawsuit yet. Regardless of the still-to-be-resolved battle between Williams and Apple, Qualcomm is moving forward by integrating the new VIA team and technology. Image via The Verge. As reported by The Verge, Qualcomm touted that its next-generation CPUs for PCs were redesigned by the new VIA team. The new chips are designed to set the performance benchmark for Windows PCs and serve as the leadership in sustained performance and battery life. Qualcomm specifically referred to these chips as being the M-series competitive solution for the PC. The new VIA design chips are slated to ship in consumer products sometime in 2023, according to Qualcomm. This, of course, gives Apple another 2 years to showcase its future Apple Silicon plans.
Yeah, so I feel like that is also very important to note, right? Because 2023, quite a few years ahead of us. It is quite problematic to have Apple. Let's go from the point of view of Qualcomm, right? It is quite problematic to have Apple already light years ahead of what they are building right now, or what they are releasing right now. Maybe not what they're building right now. We don't know what they're building right now. And then in 2023, what is going to happen next? I'm not sure, dude. I'm not sure. I feel like they're crushing Intel right now, and Intel, Alder Lake, I'm sorry, Intel. It is insane if you have unlimited wattage. Like, if it's a flipping desktop, it's cool. And yes, it's more powerful. But, love... Like, how many people have a desktop right now? The entire desktop market is decreasing. It's imploding on itself, apart from the Apple stuff, right? So, I'm just saying, the desktop industry is imploding. And I feel like laptops are getting way more important. And all these, like the one that they have right now, I'm not sure what it's called, some other lake, right? If you unplug the device from the socket, you go on battery, you are on 55% of the complete, like the power, maybe 55 to about 70%. You literally miss. Like, the power of the device is kind of like this, right? When you have it plugged in. The moment you go on battery, it just plummets, and it's under the M1. You can have a completely decked out Razer or Alienware. The moment you unplug it, it's not much better as an M1. And there's nothing wrong with an M1, by the way. I'm just saying that the M1 Max will outpace it. It will destroy it. It will annihilate it. It will humiliate it. It's just, there is no end to the amount of suffering and pain and hell that any comparison like that will have to go through the moment you start the benchmark. So on battery, it is absolutely insane. The power of the Apple Silicon, which is the same as in the socket, right? This does mean that they will have to scale something up for the desktop, right? But what I'm trying to say is Intel is struggling to keep up, especially on the mobile market. Now on desktops, they're still ahead. But I feel like Qualcomm is probably going to enter the same market as Apple is. Probably the mobile desktop market, like laptops and tablets and stuff that is more advanced, like a Surface. Dude, if you still have 2 years ahead of for your development, there must be something really, really good on that table. I'm just gonna say it. Their version of Rosetta sucks flamous. The flip is flamous? Am I missing something? What the flip is flamous? Anyways, I think you're talking about Windows. Yeah, it does suck flamous. I'm not sure what I'm saying. Maybe I'm gonna get cancelled for that. But yeah, it does.
During its Investor Day keynote, Qualcomm also took a few indirect jabs at Apple. In teasing its next-generation Snapdragon chips, Qualcomm referred to Apple as the closest competitor with its charts. When talking about its 5G modem technology, Qualcomm said that anyone planning to compete with its 5G roadmap better keep up with that roadmap. Apple, of course, is in the midst of building its own 5G modem for use in future iPhone models.
Yeah, so it like literally, like I understand that, right? And Qualcomm is ahead of almost like, or actually all the competition in terms of 5G modems. So I'm just saying, like, connectivity is very important, and I'm not saying it's something that Apple should leave on the table or just say like, well, we don't care. Of course we care, and of course it is something that Qualcomm is ahead of. But that alone is not going to help you, dude. Like, 2023 better be blazing for you guys. It better be fucking blazing. And I would say Apple is coming for you, dude. Apple is coming for you. Well, legally they are already coming for the guy that is allegedly stealing companies' secrets. But yeah, I'm just saying, like, yeah, Apple is coming for you, dude. I wish you the best of luck. Happy Hunger Games. Happy Hunger Games. It's going to be an epic battle royale. LMAO? Yeah, LMA flippin' O, boys. LMA flippin' O. Anyways, I feel like it is, I feel like it is very important that, it is very important to have competition. It is very important to keep everyone awake. And if Qualcomm wants to be that role, that's amazing. And also, like, look at it from the bright side, right? If Qualcomm succeeds in Apple Silicon Poggers, yeah. If Qualcomm succeeds in making these chips really, really great, and building, and therefore also building an industry around Windows computers with ARM chips, it would mean that for us, gaming on ARM will get way more relevant, right? And if Microsoft someday starts licensing Windows ARM, right, because they're still building it, they're taking their time. Thank you, Microsoft, for taking your time, because it is very important that it runs solidly on these systems. But if they start licensing it, and they probably will someday, and allow Macs to dual boot again, or, well, it is actually Apple that has to do that, but, well, Apple wants to do that safely, so they will probably, well, have a discussion with Microsoft, how are we going to do this, and stuff like that. So Bootcamp will probably be back then. And if Qualcomm will be able to build this market out, that's actually like something that is beneficial for us as the consumer. It might not be beneficial for Apple, but I'm not representing Apple here. But I would say it is good. I hope they succeed. I hope they build a market out somewhere in the PC market, and I hope they succeed. I would say 2023 is far away, dude, especially in the silicon industry. The stuff goes fast, dude. Unless you are on x86. Anyways, no, that's not true. Actually, AMD is doing a great job at x86. And Intel, for that matter, listen, Intel is actually doing a great job as well, right? The difference is, and I'm just going to say it, the difference is that I would say Intel, for example, Intel Xeon, right? These chips are probably going to be marketed, or are already marketed, at people that do insane amount of work on one place. Maybe Pixar, or I don't know, flipping like people that need servers or whatever. Like a Xeon chip is insane, and make no mistake, Nvidia is targeting that market as well, like the server market. So I'm not sure how long Intel is going to have grip on that. But I feel like in those markets, Intel's doing a great job. Where wattage doesn't matter, or, well, it does matter, right, because it's cost, but you know what I mean, it doesn't matter as much. They do a great job, because it doesn't, like, heat wattage power for these power plants. It doesn't really matter. I mean, for these insane servers, it doesn't really matter too much. But yeah, if Nvidia would be able to save those companies a lot of money with the same power, Intel will still be in trouble. I'm just saying, x86 has a power problem, and that needs to be solved, or this is going to get dirty and ugly really, really fast. Anyways, we're going to go to the next story.